Welcome to Bible Talk, where we don't just believe, we think deeply about it, and in this space we go beyond just reading the Bible. We wrestle with it, we reflect on it, and we explore how it changes the way we live today. Every episode we'll dig into the Word, ask the hard questions, and discover the life-transforming truths Jesus has for us. So, get ready to challenge your thinking, strengthen your faith, and see the Bible in a fresh, real way. Let's dive in. You know, one of the hardest things to do in our walk with God is letting go of our old self. Let's be real. We're so entangled with it. We've lived with it for years. It's comfortable, familiar, and if we're honest, sometimes we even love it. That old pride, that ego, that desire to always be in control. It feels safe, right? But here's the deal. When Jesus calls us to follow him, he doesn't negotiate terms. There's no middle ground, no compromise. It's either flesh or spirit, old self or new self, Jesus or the world, take it or leave it. Now you might ask, why does it have to be that way? Because our old self is simply not compatible with his holiness. If he's going to dwell in us, it has to be on his terms, not ours. He's not trying to ruin our fun, he's trying to give us life. Titus 2:11-12 says, "For the grace of God has appeared that offers salvation to all people. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in this present age." Did you catch that? It's grace that teaches us to say no. Not guilt, not fear, not rules. Grace is the power tool that cuts off the old self so the new you can finally breathe. And if I could sum up this grace, I'd put it in 3 things. God saved us not just for the sake of saving, but to redeem us from our sinful nature so we can be compatible with his holiness. 2. God saved us to show that we must die to our old self and be resurrected into our new self. 3. God saved us so we could discover that true joy and happiness are only found in Jesus. Now I know what you're thinking, but that's hard. Yeah, it is. It's like doing surgery on your old self without anesthesia. Painful, but not impossible. Here's the good news. Grace doesn't just command change, it empowers it. Grace doesn't just strip something away, it gives you something far greater in return. It's like that parable Jesus told in Matthew 13:44. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who found a treasure hidden in a field. When he found it, he sold everything he had. But get this, out of joy. He didn't walk away crying. He walked away excited because he knew what he was gaining was worth way more than what he was giving up. That's what happens when we see what Jesus offers. We trade temporary pleasure for lasting joy. We trade guilt for freedom. We trade emptiness for purpose. We trade a fragile identity for a secure one in Christ. If we can only see the treasure, the freedom, the peace, the love that Jesus gives, dying to our old self won't feel like torture anymore. It becomes a joyful exchange. And maybe that's what the disciples felt when they left everything. Peter saw more purpose in following Jesus barefoot than in catching another boatload of fish. Zacchaeus saw more value in one dinner with Jesus than in all the money he stole. Mary Magdalene found more dignity at his feet than in the world's approval. The demoniac in Mark 5, who once lived in chains, found his peace and identity when Jesus set him free. And Paul? He said, "I consider everything a loss compared to the surpassing worth of knowing Christ." All of them experienced the same thing. When they met Jesus, they realized that surrender isn't loss, it's freedom. When Jesus calls you to leave something, it's not to take life away, it's to give you real life. So yes, dying to self hurts. But remember, what feels like death to your flesh is actually life to your spirit. Grace doesn't just demand change, grace makes change beautiful. Letting go of your old self isn't to losing, it's gaining the life you were meant to live. So that's it for today's episode, a powerful reminder that revival doesn't begin with noise, but with surrender. It starts when we stop relying on ourselves and let God take over. Maybe that's what the church has been missing all along. Not more programs, not more passion, but more brokenness before God. If this episode spoke to you, take a moment this week to ask, am I serving God with Him or just for Him? Because when we finally lay down our pride, that's when the rivers of revival begin to flow. Thanks for tuning in to Bible Talk, where we don't just believe, we think deeply about it. See you in the next episode.